Please welcome Director Krebs to the S4 main stage.
All right. Good morning. Hey, really excited to be here. Thanks to Dale and the Digital Bond team for having me down here. This is my first S4. Pretty excited about it. We'll do this little keynote and then circulate around, talk to a few folks, see what's going on. But again, really excited to be here. Had to hop on an early flight this morning. Nothing like waking up at 4:30. You can probably hear it in my voice. And that's probably also because I was helping my in-laws move this weekend, doing that good son-in-law thing. So I didn't have a chance to get down here yesterday and do the beer ISAC thing. Saw some pictures. It looked like it was pretty fun until I saw pictures of some of my team, and I think I saw some Birkenstocks. I'm not going to give them a hard time, though, because after all, I'm wearing red pants. So, CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. It's actually the youngest agency in the U.S. federal government. It's established in November of 2018, signed into law by President Trump, and it took existing legacy part of the Department of Homeland Security that's been known by 4 or 5 different names, whether it's IAIP, Preparedness, NPPD, whatever it is, and took it into a fully operational, standalone, independent agency along the lines of FEMA or TSA, and gave it a pretty clear remit. This is Congress saying, we need a single civilian agency focused on cybersecurity. Whether it's IT or ICS, we need that go-to central hub. So what's different about CISA? First and foremost, unlike other parts of the federal government that have primary missions that are law enforcement, intelligence, Department of Defense, our bread and butter, our primary mission is working with you. It's working with industry. It's facilitating, it's enabling, it's convening. I have no mandate or ability to compel anyone to do pretty much anything. My job is to help understand the risk environment and facilitate better risk management activities across the country. That's why when I go out and talk about who we are and what we do, I refer to us as the nation's risk advisor. And it's not the nation's risk manager, because that's what you do. That's what the owner and operators do. The asset owner and operators are responsible for managing their risk. My job is to get them information, in some cases capabilities, to do their job more effectively to protect the citizens of the United States of America. And we do this across 5 key disciplines. First, IT security. Second, control system security. Third, supply chain. Fourth, insider threat. And fifth, physical security. So in some sense, we are that holistic advisor to chief security officers. But in effect, we have 3 audiences. The first, I've already talked about a little bit, those chief security officers, the CISOs, the security community, the blue team. That's been our historical legacy audience. We've tailored a significant amount of engagement, products, outreach around technical security support and advice to the security community. But I think over time what we've found is that we need to do more. We need to engage a broader set of stakeholders. We need to engage the executives, the C-suite, the board, the general counsels. So we've spent a significant amount of effort over the last couple years of developing product suites and ability to engage those executive decision makers. Why? For one, I need to make your jobs easier. When you walk in and say, here's what the problem is, here's what the investments need to be, that you have something that you can point to that has a consensus-based, authoritative approach on what needs to be done. When it has a CISA stamp, my hope is that it's more credible and more authoritative. Again, so that you get what you need as the defender. The third audience is the general public. So when we've got MS 2020-0601 and we need people to update their boxes, they hear it from the government and they know what to do. So what are the things that we're focused on? How do we go about our job on a daily basis? So last year about this time, remember I said it was my first one? Last year we couldn't come down. Why? Well, we were in the middle of a federal government shutdown. A 35-day, just happened to be in the dead of winter because it was a pretty cold time up in D.C. But as we were going through this process of the shutdown, as we were eyeing reopening of government, as I looked to my team and talked with my leadership group, we decided, you know what, it's not practical to assume that when things go green again and we get funded again, that we're going to be able to spin up the entire organization, do all those things we need, that we were doing, to do them at the same pace, the same effectiveness. Moreover, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe this is a good opportunity to send some quality strategic messaging across the organization and out to our partners about the things that we really care about and the things that we're going to focus on over the next several years. And so as we came out of the shutdown, I identified 5 strategic priorities for the organization. 3 of them are the things that, well, we already did, and we did pretty well, and we needed to keep doing and continue to get better at. The last 2 were somewhat pathfinders, things that we know that we have the opportunity to excel and be good at. We just need to make that commitment. We need to recommit in some cases. So the first 3, well, federal government networks. So we do have certain authorities there. Just last week, I issued another emergency directive requiring the 99 federal civilian agencies to patch for 20-0601 and a few of the other CVEs within 10 days. A couple years ago, I issued last year I issued another emergency directive on DNS tampering, and we've issued a number of other binding operational directives over the last couple years. The second area of focus, election security. Well, 2020, probably the biggest election of my lifetime. I suspect pretty much everybody in this room would share that sentiment. We got a lot of work we have to do to work with our state and local partners to secure the systems that underpin our democratic processes. If there's one thing that's worth doing right now, it's that one. And that's what I tell my team right now, that if you do something else in your lifetime that's half as meaningful as the election security work that our state and local partners are doing, that we're doing, then you have a blessed career. The third priority, this represents more the physical security side of the organization, but soft target security. Crowded places, places of worship, school safety. Provide a lot of training, advice, and exercises to that community, those communities. And then those 2 pathfinders I mentioned, well, the top of the list, industrial control system security. Something that we as an organization, as an entity over the past several years have been involved in, but we got to recommit to it. There's opportunity here. The community seeks some degree of leadership from the federal government to pull the pieces together so you're not getting hit up 15 different times by 15 different agencies. We can lead that. That's why CISA is different than other parts of the federal government. And then the last piece is a small little thing, China, supply chain, and 5G. Again, these are areas that we can demonstrate some leadership across the federal government, particularly in supply chain security, and bring our partners together, the folks that have figured this out. So how do we facilitate that knowledge transfer from the haves to the have-nots, to the folks that are spending close to $1 billion a year on IT security? How do we take and distill down the learnings and get it to the unfortunate 5,000 or something along those lines? Again, that's part of what our mission is. So that industrial control system security priority then led to an industrial control systems initiative within the agency. So the team took some time, did a little bit of research, figured out where we are, talked to you, talked to the community, figured out what you expect, what you need from government, and came up with a plan that featured 4 pillars, 4 priorities of their own. The first is to ask more of the community, but more importantly, give more to the community. I've talked about the need to streamline engagement from the federal government. You don't need 15 different agencies coming and knocking on your door. Wouldn't it be great if there was a central storefront central point of entry to the federal government, whether it's the civilian side, the intelligence community, or the Department of Defense. Everybody benefits from simplifying the approach and simplifying the process. But this is also about informing policymakers, whether it's on the Hill or the other halls of power within DC. Tell you what, the last couple weeks I've spent a lot of time up on Capitol Hill meeting with a variety of decision makers and leaders and educating them on the state of cybersecurity across our nation's critical infrastructure. We got a lot of work to do to educate them on reality, what things really look like, and not sell fear, not sell uncertainty and doubt, but give them practical information on what it's like out there and where we need to go and where we need to invest. So that's that first pillar, asking more but doing more. The second pillar is technology, focusing on technology, providing information, again, along the lines of that knowledge transfer I was talking about. What does a good baseline look like? Where have the bigs made the right investments and distilled learning down that I can then transfer to a municipal water facility? What are the 4 things that an organization should be concerned about, and what are the detections and mitigations along the way that can help them? That's why I was so excited that my team was able to work with MITRE and a number of you in this room on the MITRE ICS attack framework. That is good, solid community partnership and getting a product out there that helps everybody. The third pillar is data streamlining, getting us into a place where regardless of what the deployment is, commercial or otherwise, that the exhaust of it can be made sense of to develop a common operating picture so that I can stitch together the various bits and pieces and get a better understanding of risk. And that's the fourth pillar, is understanding where the risk is related to industrial control systems in this country. So we launched last year an initiative known as the National Critical Functions Set. That evolved the historical 16 critical infrastructures into a more functional-based approach. So it's not about the organization. It's about the things, the services, the functions that the organization provides to underpin national security, economic security, and public health and safety. And we can do a few things with this. One is develop a risk register and really get to the bottom of what is it that's important, what is it that's truly critical, who are the players, what are the critical dependencies, critical materials. But what I also want to be able to understand, if there's a bad guy out there doing something, that I can immediately map it across a set of functions and illuminate who those players are. So if Iran's banging around in oil and natural gas, I can map it across the people I need to work with, the people I need to engage. If it's Russia, if it's China, it doesn't matter. We have a more evolved, refined understanding of where risk is in this country. So this initiative then led to a handful of other developments. When we worked with the National Security Council and our partners across the interagency, they kind of liked what we had cooked up. And so we developed with our partners a control systems interagency working group. And the point of the working group is to help understand and develop that national approach to control systems security. Again, that one ring to rule them all. And so we held a number of industry engagement working groups. We had one in December. We got another one coming up in a couple weeks. This is where we want to work with you. This is your voice. This is how you contribute to the national cybersecurity or the control system security strategy. This is where you have to tell us, we want to pull your insight into what the path forward looks like. So through the engagement working group, we've identified 4 areas of focus that will evolve, that we'll probably chip away from and add to as we continue moving forward. First and foremost, we're starting with workforce. Training, education, engagement across the country. What does that workforce engagement plan look like in the development plan? The second one Standards. How do we develop appropriate standards so everyone can get to a good baseline of control system security? The third, supply chain security. Again, the government has a role here, but we need to hear more about what you're doing, what you are finding effective. What are you worried about? And lastly, what's the role of government in incident response and recovery? What should industry be able to support, and where does government come in? So through these engagements, we've already gotten some pretty good feedback. The one that resonated the most with me, though, was that the government has to communicate with the community better, more effectively. And that really resonated with me because I've taken an approach and asked my team to take an approach that is honestly modeled after what General Mattis mentioned in his recent book that he actually, I think, riffed off from General George Washington. That the approach that we've got to take if we're going to be effective in this space, we got to start with listening. We need to know what you're concerned about. We need to learn. Then we can help. And lastly, where the opportunity presents itself, we can lead. Listen, learn, help, lead. That's the philosophy. That's the mentality that I've asked my team to take. And that then feeds into some of the other feedback we've gotten. 2 more bits of feedback. The second, streamline and simplify the way the government engages. So communicate, but also simplify the approach and the guidance and other advice that goes out. Standards is a great example. Make it simpler. Make it simpler at the lowest possible level to understand what needs to be done. And then the third bit of feedback, opportunity space for government, is look where government has and can use its weight. Purchasing, supply chain. What can the government do? The power of the purse in the voluntary incentive space is probably the most powerful tool that the government has. We can drive markets. We can shift markets with a single acquisition or procurement decision. Use that smartly on behalf of this community. So building this all back together and focusing on the CISA ICS security approach, we've taken a few of these higher level, higher order initiatives, some of the feedback, some of the pointers we've gotten from you, and we've developed and launched a couple initiatives that we can show off here at S4. So my team's here on the 3rd floor, and they've brought a couple skids with them, a couple demo opportunities for you to test out. And the concept here is that we want to provide a training environment, hands-on training environment for everyone, whether it's the haves or the have-nots. Do it in a way that doesn't supplant a commercial offering, but is really intended to up-level capabilities across the country. And I keep thinking about those municipal water facilities, the 10,000 plus water facilities across the country that aren't necessarily resourced by their local government or by the state or whoever pays the bills. That's where I've got to come in and plug a gap, but with your help. So these skids, I think the one we've got one that's an oil and natural gas one. We have a pipeline and we have a water facility. These are the sorts of things that we think we can do, that we can offer to the community to make a difference, give you some quality security training, get the blue team some reps. So that's the Control Environment Laboratory Resource Cellar. And again, it's here on the third floor. The last thing that I want to do is dispel maybe some myths. The Industrial Control System Joint Working Group is something that we've put on for many years. The next one's coming up in April out in Salt Lake City. It's a 3-day event. Training, boot camps, capture the flag, policy track, technical track. It's an opportunity for everyone to get involved and contribute again to this great community that is represented here at S4. But it's an opportunity also for us to get everyone inside the tent. Now, the rumor that I want to dispel is ICSJWG is something that we're going to double down on going forward. This is something I've asked the team to figure out how do we best engage? How do we best communicate? And ICSJWG is just one example of how we're going to do that. So to wrap this thing up, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can work with us. First and foremost, go to CISA.gov, CISA.gov, click on through. You can find how to engage with us in DC at a headquarters level, but we also have 10 regions similar to the FEMA model, where I've got security advisors out in the field on a daily basis engaging with the critical infrastructure community. That's also an area where we're going to keep building our capabilities. The last round of government funding gave me the ability to hire 100 plus individuals additionally out in the field. Got to tell you, it's a lot easier to hire 100 people out in the field than it is in Washington, D.C. So we're going to take advantage of that, and we will hire at all levels. So not only do you have a chance to partner with us, you have a chance to come work with us. And we're going to continue working with you to build the future of industrial control systems workforce, capability, and expertise. So please, go check us out, third floor, CISA.gov. But whatever you do, stay engaged. Our motto at CISA is defend today, secure tomorrow. We want to do that with you. So thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. Enjoy S4. Thank you.